I planned a surprise anniversary vow renewal. The surprise was on me when I heard my husband rehearsing his vows, not to me but to his pregnant mistress in our guest house. Baker. He wasn't just pledging his love, he was detailing how he'd hidden millions from me to fund their new life. The first blow was the sound of his voice, that specific intimate timbre he used only in our most private moments. It was a voice that had whispered love sonnets into my hair on a rainy Parisian balcony, that had softly coaxed me through the agonizing, beautiful hours of our daughter's birth. Now it was weaving promises to someone else, and each word was a shard of glass grinding into my soul. I stood paralyzed on the manicured flagstone path, a bottle of vintage Dom Perignon, 1989, his birth year, a ridiculously extravagant touch I'd been so proud of, sending a deep chill through my sweating palms. Above me, the hundreds of delicate fairy lights I'd spent the last 2 hours meticulously stringing through the old oak trees twinkled like a galaxy of cruel, mocking stars. This was supposed to be our night. A decade of marriage. A secret vow renewal ceremony, just the two of us, under the constellations that had witnessed our first kiss. My name is Elena Rossi, 36 years old. My husband, Julian Blackwood, 38. We have a brilliant, kind-hearted 7-year-old daughter, Chloe. From the outside, our life in the pristine, wealthy enclave of Greenwich, Connecticut, was a flawless portrait. Julian, the charismatic and ruthlessly successful founder of a boutique hedge fund, a man who could charm the stripes off a tiger. Me, a senior partner at a renowned interior design firm, my name synonymous with taste and exclusivity. We had the sprawling white colonial with the wraparound porch, the impeccably trained golden retriever named Gatsby, the curated Instagram feed that screamed #blessed. I truly believed we were the exception to every cynical marital rule. I thought the love we'd built was fortified, unbreachable. I'd concocted an elaborate lie about a last-minute client emergency in the city to pull this off. Julian thought I was stuck in a tedious meeting, probably feeling sorry for me. Instead, I'd been racing against the sunset, hanging lights, laying out the deep blue Moroccan rug he loved, and placing the handwritten vows I'd labored over for weeks on a small teak pedestal. I'd even had our song Etta James's At Last queued up on a hidden speaker. I felt a giddy schoolgirl thrill. Then I saw the soft glow emanating from the windows of the pool house, his recently declared man cave and remote home office, a sleek, modern structure I'd designed for him myself. I assumed he'd forgotten to turn the lights off after his lunchtime swim. I set the champagne down in the grass and went to flip the switch, my hand pausing on the door handle as his voice washed over me. It wasn't his boardroom voice, all sharp angles and calculated confidence. It was the voice he reserved for sacred, quiet moments, intimate, tender, brimming with an emotion that now made my dinner rise in my throat. And from the moment I saw you, I knew my entire life had been a prelude to yours, he was saying, his voice thick with a sincerity that felt like a physical violation. This child, our son, is the living, breathing proof of a love I never even knew my heart was capable of holding. I promise to protect you both, to cherish you, to finally leave my old life behind and build a beautiful, honest new world with you. I, Julian, take you, Sasha, to be my lawfully wedded wife. The word wife didn't just hit me, it detonated. It vaporized the last 10 years of my life in a single seismic instant. My grip on the champagne bottle failed. It slipped from my numb fingers and landed with a dull, expensive thud in the soft grass, the liquid inside sloshing violently. The sound was deafening in the sudden ringing silence that followed his declaration. The door to the pool house flew open so fast it shuddered on its hinges. Julian stood there, silhouetted against the warm interior light, his face a perfect frozen mask of sheer, unadulterated horror. Behind him I saw her. A young, strikingly beautiful woman with a cascade of dark hair, her hand flying instinctively to her visibly pregnant belly, 6 months along at least. Her wide, dark eyes were pools of sheer terror. His 24-year-old junior associate. The one he'd described as bright but terribly naive. The one he'd said needed a bit of hand-holding. The one I'd invited to Christmas dinner last year because I felt sorry she was alone in the city. Elena. My God. What are you doing home? He stammered, lurching forward and pulling the door mostly closed behind him, a pathetic attempt to hide the physical evidence of his betrayal. The numbness that had enveloped me shattered, replaced by a white-hot clarifying rage that burned away the shock. My house. My home. I said, my voice terrifyingly calm, a stark contrast to the hurricane inside me. And you're in my pool house, practicing your wedding vows to your pregnant girlfriend. I took a step closer, my eyes never leaving his. Were you going to invite me to the ceremony, Julian? Or was I not on the guest list? Should I have sent a gift? A blender for your new love nest. Elena, it's not what you think, he began, the old, pathetic, cliched refrain. Don't. I snapped, the calm fracturing, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. Don't you dare insult my intelligence any further. I heard every single word. Leave my old life behind. Our life. Our daughter. Our home. I'm the old life? The sheer audacity of it stole my breath. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled dark hair, a gesture of frustration I'd once found endearing. Now it made me want to lunge at him to scratch the handsome lie right off his face. Elena, please. You're hysterical. Let's go inside and talk about this like rational adults. You're blowing this completely out of proportion. Out of proportion? A harsh, broken laugh escaped me, sounding alien and unhinged even to my own ears. You have a whole secret family, a pregnant fiancé, sequestered in my backyard, and I'm blowing it out of proportion? What's the proportional response, Julian? Should I offer her a prenatal vitamin? A tour of the nursery we built for Chloe? Just then the front door of the main house burst open and Chloe came running out, a whirlwind of pink pajamas and flying blonde hair, her little legs pumping. Daddy. You're home. Mommy, are the lights for my slumber party? They're so pretty. The transformation in Julian was instantaneous and nauseating. His face of panicked guilt morphed seamlessly into daddy mode. He swooped down and swept her up into his arms, planting a loud kiss on her cheek. Hey, my little pumpkin. No, just some pretty lights for mommy and me. A little surprise. Why don't you go back inside and see if Mrs. Henderson has your chocolate milk ready? Our live-in nanny, a wonderfully stern Scottish woman, was thankfully inside. He looked at me over Chloe's head, his eyes pleading, desperate. A silent, urgent message passed between us. Not in front of her. For God's sake, not in front of her. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in acting, a special kind of hellish torture. I moved through the motions of our well-worn evening routine, checking math homework, running a bubble bath, reading a chapter of Charlotte's Web, with a smile plastered on my face that felt like a rictus grin. My hands trembled as I brushed Chloe's hair, but I kept my voice light, singing our silly bedtime song. Inside I was a bombed-out city, everything in ruins, smoke and ash choking me. Julian hovered, a nervous, apologetic ghost in the corridors of our home, his eyes following my every move. Once Chloe was finally, blessedly asleep, her breathing deep and even, he turned to me in the kitchen. The performance was over. Hey, let's just talk about this. I turned from the sink where I was scrubbing a already clean glass, my back to him. There's nothing to talk about, Julian. You've made your choices. You've drawn the blueprints for your new life. Quite clearly. He sighed, a heavy, put-upon sound, and switched tactics from defensive to tragically resigned. Elena, you have to understand, we've been glorified roommates for years. You're always so consumed with your high-profile clients, with maintaining this perfect museum of a house. He gestured around the kitchen I'd painstakingly designed. There's no spark left. There's no passion. Sasha, she's vibrant. She's uncomplicated. She listens. She looks at me like I hung the moon. She makes me feel alive again. So it's my fault you couldn't keep your dick in your pants and then knocked up your assistant? I said, my voice low and dripping with a venom I didn't know I possessed. You should have told me you felt like a roommate. We could have gone to counseling. We could have taken a damn vacation. We could have tried. Instead you built an entire secret life. You got another woman pregnant. You were going to marry her. How long were you going to wait? Until after my surprise anniversary party? I gestured wildly out the window toward the now sad-looking twinkling lights. He had the decency to look momentarily ashamed, a flicker of the man I thought I knew. I was going to tell you after the holidays. I didn't want to ruin Christmas for Chloe. I thought we could have one last happy family Christmas before you dropped the nuclear bomb. I finished for him, my voice scathing. How noble of you. So you were going to play happy families for 6 more weeks, smile for the Christmas card, all while your mistress is, 5, 6 months pregnant? Were you going to bring me a souvenir from your honeymoon? A little, I'm with stupid t-shirt. I know you're hurt, he began, reaching a hand out. I recoiled as if his touch were acid. Hurt? I interrupted, my voice rising dangerously close to a shout I struggled to suppress. Julian, you don't get to define what I am. I'm not hurt. I am eviscerated. I am humiliated. Now I want you to pack a bag and get out. Go to your fiancé. I'm sure the pool house has a couch, or maybe her apartment has a spare drawer for you. He balked, his jaw tightening. This is my house too. I paid for it. I'm not leaving. Fine, I said, my voice dropping to a deadly quiet whisper. I picked up my phone from the counter. Then I will call my father and my brother. You remember my brother, don't you? The one who benches 250 and has the temper of a honey badger. And after they've helped you pack, I will call every single one of your biggest clients. The Millers. The Van Horns. I will send a beautifully detailed email to the entire partners list at your firm, explaining exactly what kind of man Julian Blackwood truly is. A man who practices bigamy in his backyard while his daughter sleeps 50 feet away. Your choice. But choose quickly. My finger is hovering over Bobby's speed dial. He saw the unwavering glacial resolve in my eyes. He knew my family. He knew I'd do it. The color drained from his face. An hour later he was gone, a single leather suitcase in his trunk, off to a 5-star hotel I presumed. Mrs. Henderson, having overheard enough through the kitchen door, emerged from her sitting room. She didn't offer empty platitudes. She just poured 2 fingers of scotch into a tumbler, handed it to me and gave my shoulder a firm, sympathetic squeeze. I'll be upstairs if Chloe wakes, was all she said. My fortress. The next morning the fallout began in earnest. My phone rang at 8:05 a.m. It was Celia, Julian's mother. Her voice was syrupy with false concern. Elena, darling, Julian called me. He told me you two had a little spat. He's under such tremendous pressure at the firm, you know. And men, my dear, they have certain needs that we women sometimes neglect in the busyness of life. Surely this is just a bump in the road? Something that can be worked out. For sweet Chloe's sake. I didn't scream. I didn't hang up. I took a slow, measured breath, the cold focus returning. Margaret, I said, my voice flat and devoid of all emotion. Your son is expecting a child with another woman, a woman whom he was actively planning to marry while still legally and sacramentally married to me. There is no spat. There is no bump. There is only divorce. Then I ended the call and blocked her number. My own family was a fortress of righteous rage and unwavering support. My father, a retired federal judge, offered to have a word and make the prenup disappear. My sister, a corporate lawyer in Boston, booked the first flight out to come stay with me. We're going to burn him to the ground, Ellie, she said, and I could hear the grim smile in her voice. But I wasn't going to be a victim waiting for others to fight my battles. The initial shock had worn off, completely replaced by a cold, focused, and utterly terrifying fury. I wasn't just going to divorce him. I was going to systematically dismantle his life just as he had mine. I needed a shark. I called the most ruthless, feared divorce attorney in the tri-state area, a woman named Rhonda Vance, and had a retainer agreement signed via e-signature before lunch. The real twist, however, came 2 days later. I was sitting at Julian's mahogany desk in his home office. My office now. Methodically going through our shared cloud storage, looking for financial documents and bank statements Rhonda had requested. I was navigating through folders named tax returns, investment portfolios, property deeds. Then I saw it. A folder nested within a folder, named Tax Docs 2023 Archive. It was password protected. A red flag immediately went up. Why password protect archive tax documents? My first guesses were predictable. Chloe's birthday, our anniversary. Denied. A bitter taste filled my mouth as I tried Sasha's name and birthday. Denied. Then, on a dark, painful hunch, I typed Greenies, a nickname Julian had coined for me in our first year together, inspired by a terrible, beautiful poem he'd written about the deep, mysterious forests in my eyes. The nickname he hadn't used in years. The folder unlocked with a soft click. It wasn't tax documents. It was a meticulously organized digital treasure trove of deceit. PDFs of account statements from a bank in the Cayman Islands I never knew existed. Spreadsheets detailing massive, regular wire transfers over the last 3 years, siphoning money from our joint investment accounts into this black hole. A scanned copy of a prenuptial agreement drafted for him and Sasha. A document so brutally one-sided it limited her claims to a paltry lump sum, regardless of the length of their marriage. And then the piece de resistance that made my blood run cold. A chain of emails. Emails between Julian and his own lawyer, discussing in chilling clinical detail how to hide assets from me before filing for divorce. They discussed funneling money through a series of offshore shell companies, artificially devaluing his share of the hedge fund, and even discussed strategies to use my predicted emotional instability and hysterical reaction to his affair to gain primary custody of Chloe, thereby drastically reducing any potential alimony and child support obligations. He wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a financial criminal engaged in systematic fraud. And he wasn't just leaving me for another woman. He was planning to leave me and our daughter financially destitute and emotionally broken, while he sailed off into the sunset with his millions and his new, uncomplicated family. The rehearsal in the pool house wasn't just a betrayal of the heart. It was a theatrical smokescreen for a much colder, more calculated financial annihilation. He wasn't a man blinded by love. He was a CEO coldly liquidating a failing subsidiary, and I was the liability on the balance sheet. A grim, icy smile finally touched my lips. He thought he was the master strategist, the puppet master. But in his arrogance, in his sentimentality over an old nickname, he just handed me the nuclear codes to his entire empire. My hands were perfectly steady as I highlighted the entire folder, compressed it into a single encrypted file, and attached it to an email to Rhonda Vance. The subject line was simple: Exhibit A. The body of the email contained only one line: game on. Then I did something else, something born of that same cold fury. I found Sasha's Instagram profile, private, but her profile picture was visible. A happy, smiling, heartbreakingly naive young woman, her hand resting protectively on her baby bump, her eyes full of hope and dreams. I felt a pang of something unexpected. Not sympathy but a sense of shared predation. She thought she'd won the lottery, that she had captured a wealthy, powerful prince. She had no idea the prize was radioactive and the prince was a wolf in tailored suit. Using a meticulously crafted fake account. A photo of a leafy plant, no posts, a handful of random followers. I sent her a single direct message. It contained no text, only a screenshot. It was the most damning paragraph from the email chain with his lawyer. The one where the lawyer advised Julian to have Sasha sign the oppressive prenup quickly, noting that pregnant women are emotionally vulnerable, suggestible, and unlikely to seek independent counsel or negotiate terms. I didn't write a word. I just sent the picture. The message was delivered. Read receipts were on. I watched 3 little dots appear, pulse for a full, agonizing minute as she presumably read and reread the cold, calculating words from the man who claimed to love her. And then the dots simply disappeared. She didn't block me. She didn't respond. He just read it. And in that silence, I knew the first fissure had appeared in his perfect new world. The vow renewal was off. The carefully planned surprise was ashes. The war, however, had just begun. And I, the boring, predictable interior decorator, held all the ammunition. I finally understood. This wasn't about winning him back. It was about winning. Period. And for the first time since I heard his voice through that door, I knew with absolute icy certainty that I would.